All right, good evening, good evening, good evening. Hoping by wearing the Bluetooth, it'll cut down my background noise. As you come in, you'll let me know. It's already 9, so I'll give it about a minute. Send out that notification. Let people know we up in here. If I look like I'm glistening, it's because it's hot. So that's a good reason to glisten. Good reason to glisten. Good reason. Again, I'm giving it about a minute, and then I'll kick off. Typically not one for waiting. You can see the title there. The write-up that I gave for this particular topic. Sorry I didn't put it up earlier like I normally do, but this one just kind of came to me this afternoon. I don't always have them in advance. Or maybe I do and I just need to write it down. I need to write it down, but I don't always do that. So, it's 9:01. Again, that's about a minute, and I'll kick off and people will join as they are able to do so. I try to pick a late hour on my end, not too late, but to give people who work on the West Coast and things of that nature, where I'm from, the opportunity to get off, get settled at 7 o'clock on the West Coast, and thereafter, of course, Mountain Time, 8 o'clock, and Central Standard Time, 9 o'clock, and Eastern Time, 10. So got to try to pick a time that's decent for everybody. And these are very informal. You know, I'll respond as I'm able, as I see you. As I see you post. So that being said, let's get into this. I'm almost curious to see how this is going to go as well. So here's what I posted not too long ago: secrets versus it's personal. Are they keeping secrets, or is it just a personal thing and therefore nobody else's business? Never heard those two things compared to each other? If not, I am not surprised, though I imagine that if you take a moment to stop and think about it, in fact, you have just not by name. The moment we engage in a relationship, and I left that very general, the moment we engage in a relationship, the question of what is personal or private, a personal or private matter, and what is keeping secrets surfaces. Have you ever told someone, you should have told me before, told me about this first? Or maybe you told them, it's none of my business, or I don't need to know all of that. The real issue ultimately then lies with, what is the proper stand? If you've watched any of my broadcasts on Thursday, you know this is where I'm going to go with it. So I tell you up front, I don't like to drag it out. You know up front, this is about transparency. I mean, that's the word, right? And I've done a whole broadcast on that, and I'm back again, but I want to look at it from these two perspectives of secrecy, or the notion, the idea of is a person being secretive, and then of course from the standpoint of a person, hey, I'm not being secretive, that's just my personal business, and who knows how we'll conclude. Maybe you'll help me work this out for us all, because I come and tell you up front, I don't know if there is a standard. As a matter of fact, I have been taught, my parents taught me, you know, what happens in this house, let's go ahead and start there. What happens in this house stays in this house. Now, working for the school system, working in certain environments that I've worked in a group home and things like that, and over the years, that whole what happens in this house stays in this house, well, there's called mandatory reporting. And under the guise of what happens in this house stays in this house, i.e., that's personal, that's private, which is essentially what that phrase is talking about. What happens in this house stays in this house is to say, That's personal. That's private. That's only for those in this house. Now, I say this as a parent, but I also heard this as a child. That's extremely convenient for the parents. And I got nothing but grown people on my page who've raised kids. You got grown kids. You might have grown grandkids. You may have said that. What happens in this house stays in this house. And trust me, though I have never said it as a parent, I get it. And I'll tell you why I never said it. Because again, I worked in mandatory reporting type environments. Where as a teacher's assistant, as a teacher at one point, a person working in group homes, I read case files. I am familiar with abuse. I know a lot of very grown people, older than myself, who, I'm just going to be real honest with you, behind the rule of what happens in this house stays in this house, they got abused. I'm sorry. That rule, that spoken rule, says things can happen here that can be very destructive to individuals, but because it happened here, it's not supposed to be communicated outside of these four walls. That's a relationship. Parents to children. Uncles. I'm not going to get off into all that stuff. Uncles and aunts to nieces and nephews. Older brothers. Friends of. Male friends of. I mean, obviously I've heard all this stuff. I'm not going to get off into that, but I'm just saying, where do we draw lines? What is the standard? How do we know? Now, clearly my parents had their own standard. I mean, how else can I say it? They had their standard of what privacy versus secrecy was. They have their own standard. And it was likely a standard that they got from their upbringing, which is why I'm not tripping. Good or bad, right or wrong, that rule, that spoken rule, it's not an unspoken rule, that's a spoken rule. Now, I can speak, I think, for the black community. I don't know if that's a rule in other communities, but in the black community, especially with older generations, what happens in this house stays in this house. And we're not just talking about what can happen to children. We're talking about between adults. If the kids are privy to dad laying his hands on mom inappropriately, things happening in the bedroom, some abuses and things of that nature, mom comes out because she didn't want to press charges against dad, what would she tell the kids? Kids, what happens in this house? So I posed this question, maybe rhetorically, was that secrecy or privacy? Because the rule is spoken as an issue of privacy, right? I heard it from my parents. I heard it from my aunts and uncles in terms of their children, my cousins. What happens? Yeah, y'all know. Yeah, we know. What happens in this house stays in this house. Without getting into personal business, individual accounts, I'm just saying. And were there things that went on? Of course. Maybe not in the house I grew up in, and I can't speak for my siblings. I can't speak for everybody in the house. But there were things that went on. And that went on, that wasn't right. Now, you know me, I don't pull punches. I don't waste people's time. I'm doing this because I want to come right out and make us think about this. I don't care how old you are. Well, I'm going to get to some different situations in a minute, but that's that big one right there. Privacy versus secrecy. And I put them against each other because in truth, they are in many cases in opposition to one another. They are in opposition. And you know what makes it worse? If you get a child like my son, who is already naturally quiet, who does not of themselves speak up. So you get somebody like me, speak up, speak up, speak up, speak up. You know, if something happens, you better speak up. He is not inclined, just by virtue of his personality, to do that. And this is why many boys and girls, many wives and even husbands, found themselves on the bad end of that rule. What happens here stays here. Privacy. We don't speak of things outside of here. I have what I think is a better way to say certain things. I don't think that is a good rule, and I'll share that later. I think there's another way to articulate a bit more precisely than just simply everything and anything that happens here, period, stays here. Now, let's be a little lighter for a second. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Now you're going, Gabe, what then? Think about it. Why do you think that rule was created? But that's not the same. You sure? You sure? Let's be honest for a second. The reason why somebody in authority would tell someone who they're in charge of what happens here stays here is because most times either they're just simply speaking what they heard. Okay, I'll give you that. But I get the sneaky suspicion is because there may be some things that's going to happen or is happening and you don't get to speak about it. When I was growing up, they used the belt, among other things that they could find. They use a belt, they use a hand, they use a switch, they use a tree, they use a block, whatever, a pan, a pot, I'm kidding. And more often than not, when I heard a phrase like that, not just from my parents, period, from that generation and the generation before them, who taught them that, it was usually because there was going to be some questionable behavior. There was going to be some questionable actions that was going to happen or that had just happened. I mean, are we going to be grown people or not? Are we going to talk plainly or not? What happens here stays here. And in the same way, the only reason why you would say that in Vegas for decades upon top of decades is because the people who were going to Vegas when that statement was created were intending to engage in activity that was likely going to be the kind of activity you didn't want to get back to your house, to your boss, to your family, to your community. The reality of it is privacy, secrecy. I think we have to be honest for a second and recognize that phrase encourages secrecy. I'll let you chew on it. Somebody tell me I'm wrong. Give me a different explanation. Tell me I'm wrong. What happens in this house stays in this house was packaged as something about privacy. Nobody needs to know what we do here. But if we think about it, even if we've said it, the real truth is that was about secrecy. That was about some things that had taken place or was taking place or could take place, that those who were using the phrase, because you notice you never had a child say to a parent, what happens in this house stays in this house. Can you imagine a wayward son, let's say about 15, he's in the house, he's cussing his mom out, he's going off on his dad, he's tearing up his room, he's acting a fool, and when the parent starts threatening him, I'll kick you out. I'll call the police. Hey, you can't call the police, because what happens in this house stays in this house. You never thought about it, did you? You never imagined that a subordinate could use the statement, because the statement is general. What happens here stays here. And why would a child say that to their parent? Why would a teenager say that to their parent or to their guardian? Because they're doing something more than likely that they ought not do. Now watch this. I'm going to get in deeper trouble. You ready? Is it really true that what happens in the house stays in the house? No! Now, I'm on Facebook right now, so are you. I read posts from time to time. And for those who have children in particular, or spouses, I've read some posts of things, of events, of conversations that was happening in the house. I've seen pictures, selfies, and otherwise of people eating dinner, people trying to sleep. I've seen videos, live broadcasts of people filming each other in the house. But I thought what happens in the house stays in the house. Are you going to say to me, Gabe, you know what they mean? If you do, then you're proving my point. If you say that, you're proving my point. That phrase is not used for the child going in and cleaning the dishes and doing all that. We'll get on Facebook, oh, my son, my grandson, he's so wonderful. He just came and helped grandma. He cleaned the dishes. He vacuumed the floor. And I didn't even ask him. Wait a minute, you're broadcasting something that's in the house. Exactly. 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 So the reality of it is you're broadcasting something that happened in the house. You take a picture of each other. Your husband's sitting there trying to sleep, and you, because you think it's funny, you snap a picture of him. Oh, my baby's tired. You just snapped something in the house. That's supposed to be private. That's supposed to be private. Private. That's supposed to be private. That's supposed to be personal. I'm just letting y'all think through this. See, what I do, if you have never watched Thursday, is I try to get us thinking about things that a lot of times we just take for granted. We just take it for granted. The only reason why I never used the phrase, my first job out of junior college was a group home. And in that group home, I didn't really get training. Here's what it is. In that group home, they told us, you have to report. You are a mandated reporter. So I learned at 20 some odd years old, 23 years old, there is no secrets in the house. I worked in a group home, in a home. Literally, it was a home. And I was told something that I did not hear growing up, which is you don't keep it to yourself, you report. Eventually, I moved to Louisiana and I became a teacher's assistant. And we were told that if the kids tell you something, if they signal something, you are a mandated reporter. And yes, it's difficult. Yes, it's hard, because what's private and what's secrets? Oh, they didn't use those words, but I got the point because I worked in a group home. So I knew what they meant. I knew what they meant. And thankfully, I never had to report anything. And then I became a teacher, and they said the same thing. You are a mandated reporter. I've talked to many of my teacher friends, counselor friends, and they struggle with this. I know many people who work in child protective service, who work in group home or nursing home settings. Y'all know what I'm talking about. If you are a nurse, a doctor, you know what I'm talking about. If you see any signs of abuse, that's supposed to be secret. It's not a secret. And no matter how torn you are, because you don't really want to talk about it, your job says that if you don't talk about it, you could be brought up on charges. Yep, charges. Because you did not report. And you are a mandated reporter. I talked to many school counselors about this stuff, trying to understand ultimately what should be allowed to be a secret or personal, and private, and then what is a secret that needed to be unearthed? What needed to be brought out? What needed to be unearthed? Okay, we don't like that. That's a little too touchy. Gabe, get off that one. I don't like that. You're right. I'm with you. I don't like that one either. So, for those of us who are single, and we go out on a date, or we exchange numbers. We don't have to get to a date. We exchange numbers. And we're talking. And I'll put it on us. You're sitting there talking to a man, ladies, and he hints that in previous relationships, there might have been some conduct that you might consider inappropriate. I'm not going to say what. You decide what that is. But he doesn't explain it. He says it and moves on. I'll ask you, whoever's brave enough to speak up, do you probe? You're sitting there talking to this person, you're on the phone, you're texting, you're on a date, I don't care. And he says something, whatever that is, and you know that that's not something that sounds right to you. Is he permitted his privacy? Privacy? Or do you feel like that might be something that he might be holding as a secret? I could flip it. Men, same thing. She says something. Doesn't quite sound right, but she didn't mean to reveal it. She just was using some example. Or maybe she had an attitudinal response that gave you reason to believe that she may have some secret anger issues. Excuse me. Secret anger issues. I don't know. So I'm asking the men and women of the jury, secret or personal, private? Anybody ever heard of TMI? Too much information? See, all this stuff we've talked about, I know all my life. I've heard people talking about this stuff all my life. I became an adult 28 years ago, and I gave some thought to it, 29 years ago, to what I was hearing, but I never stopped and really played this out in my mind till I got well up into my 40s, really, and start thinking about, especially being single, how much do I really want to know? How much do I deserve to know? How much do I need to know? I've had conversations in the last few years with individuals who've dated people out of jail, out of prison. Matter of fact, several individuals who've dated people who had in their past prison sentences. And it's very interesting to listen to them talk. On one hand, I believe people deserve another chance. Can't argue that. On the other hand, should they be allowed to keep their past a secret? By saying it's personal? By saying it's private? I raise this issue because a lot of us are torn. We just don't talk about it. Now, some of you may be absolutely solid. You know exactly where you're standing, and you don't really care if it hurts anybody's feelings. Hey, I respect that. You do what you do. But many of us, and notice I said us, we're not so sure. And you could be married. I've had conversations with married people who told me in the heat of the moment, they don't know if they're going to stay married. And I was like, well, why? Because secrets start coming out during the marriage. Things that they felt personally, they should have known. That's why I put the statement. You should have told me. Now, ladies, no disrespect, fellas, but ladies have told me this more than men. Sorry, fellas. There's a reason why we get called liars. No. Are all of us liars? Of course not. Of course not. But there's a reason why, fellas, a lot of times we end up being labeled as liars. Because there are things that we don't want to speak up about. Previous relationships. On the flip side, there are women who have told me, Gabe, I don't want to talk about the past. I only want to look to the future. I don't want to talk about the past. I don't just want to look to the future. And I'm sitting there going, I hear you. I get it. But I don't know. I don't know. Isn't there some things that in the past that might still have some current day implication? Do you understand what I'm saying? Do you understand what I'm saying? There may be some things that have some current day implication, even though things happened in the past. So let me ask the question and go ahead and put my foot as far in my mouth as I can. Is the past automatically personal? Is the past automatically private? Now that's personal opinion now. That's up to you as individuals. I'm just asking the questions. Should people's past be automatically out of bounds? TMI, if it's in the past, it's in the past. It's not a secret. It's just merely private. See the difference in those terms? It's not a secret. No, that's just private. They have a right to their private lives. Now, y'all ain't going to talk back to me, I understand, because I'm deeper than you thought I was going to go. And for those of you who've watched my Thursday night broadcast, I don't know why you don't see this coming. Should the past automatically, if they say, look, my past is dealt with, I don't have no more baggage, I'm good, therefore my past is personal, it's private to me, you don't need to know it. For whatever the working relationship, the emotional, mental relationship, the romantic relationship, should it automatically be? If they tell you, I'm good. Nope, I got this. Well, I heard, I'm not trying to judge you by your past, but I heard that there were some things that went on. Well, why are you bringing up my past? We don't live in the past. I was taught don't live in the past. What do you say? What do you do? Now, I'll keep it rhetorical unless somebody want to answer. I hope you at least answer to yourself. I hope you are willing to at least set some standards for yourself. Because I'll be honest, there really isn't any objective standard to this. This really does come down to each individual. Gabe, what about the Bible? What about it? What about it? The Bible doesn't absolutely say you have to tell your past or some portion of your past or, 50%, 10%. The Bible doesn't say that. The Bible doesn't talk about it. I'll ask this question. Has anyone ever been hurt by somebody else's past? Something that was in their past, or at least was supposedly in their past, but in fact was not in their past. In fact, surfaced, resurfaced, whether they exactly knew about it or not. Has anyone ever found themselves on the short end of the stick, as they say, behind somebody's secrets? Has anyone ever broken up with someone or threatened to leave a relationship because of some secrets? This is what this topic is about, ladies and gentlemen. This is why I'm doing it. I'm almost done. You can see, you can tell, I'm almost done. I've only gone 30 minutes. Now, I told you I would give some suggestions on how you might navigate that, but I just want to be clear. I'm just about finished. Because at this point, you really have to be the one to decide. None of my business, or you should have told me. Has anyone ever said to someone, I think you're keeping secrets, and had them say back to you, that's my personal business? Has anyone ever said to someone, I think you're lying, and they said, I have no reason to lie, I just had no reason to tell you? It's none of your business. Shall I continue? I've heard these things in one form or another. Somebody telling me about a situation they've been through or something I've been through. I've heard this stuff. Between men and women, between co-workers, between, employers and employees. I've heard this stuff. Job applications don't get at every detail. Job applications can't uncover everything. I don't care how elaborate those job applications are. There are some things that are just in somebody's heart, in somebody's mind. Let me ask another question and really make it hard for you. What if people have anger issues? That's subjective. They haven't gone to a psychologist. They don't have medication for that. They just struggle with anger. They struggle with fear, and it causes them to throw temper tantrums. It causes them to fly off the handle. They start punching walls. They never got arrested for it. They might have lost a relationship, but is that anybody else's business? Ain't nobody gonna talk to me, huh? I'll keep it rhetorical. My job is to make us think. That's all I'm doing. How much do you deserve to know? How much do people around you, I'll make it general, do you allow people in your personal space without having to know everything about them? So when I say personal space, I don't mean the grocery store. I don't mean the gym. I don't mean at a restaurant. I mean your house. I mean in your car. I mean in your bed. Eating at your table. Receiving money from you. Do you allow people who you support, who you love, who you claim to be friends with, to have a private life? I've asked this question before and nobody ever answered me. And I know why you don't answer. Because you don't want to talk to yourself about it. You don't want to get this stuff straight until you're facing this and now you're mad and you're hurt because you think somebody pulled the wool over your eyes. Because you didn't want to answer the question up front to yourself. You didn't want to get it straight with you, and now you think somebody was tricking you, somebody was lying to you, somebody was keeping secrets from you, and you fell all in love, or you let them in your house, you fed them your food at your table, you let them sleep in your bed or on your couch, you let them drive your car. And I'm not saying people don't lie. I'm not going either way. I'm just saying, for the people who feel like you've been on the short end of the stick, did you settle this stuff for you? Did you parse this out? Did you ask yourself these tough questions? You don't need me to do it, but you've got to do it. I've got to do it. We grown people in here. I don't care if you 18 or if you 81. We grown people. Oh, I got some people in their 80s on my page. I don't know about 90s, but I know 80s. See, look. Because in the final analysis, it comes down to us, doesn't it? Let me ask you this question. Are you afraid of hurting people's feelings? Is that what it is? Is the reason why you won't ask questions that you're calling private? You call them private because you don't want to hurt people's feelings? Even when you think they're keeping secrets? Or maybe you're afraid that if you ask them, that's going to give them permission to ask you? Is there some secrets you may be keeping? Don't answer that here. Don't put nothing here. Don't put your secrets. Don't put your secrets. I'm just asking. You know what I've learned in my personal experience? When I was dealing with pornography, oh, you know me, I get transparent. When I was dealing with pornography issues, the shame and all that stuff, that's when I was most suspicious of other people. When I had my secrets, that's when I was most suspicious of other people. If I lied, then I was willing to believe others were going to lie to me. If I cheat, then I just assume other people are going to cheat. Obviously, you see how I live my life now. You see how I live my life now. I'm probably a whole lot more transparent than people want me to be. There's that word again. Transparent. You know why I do that? Now, do I have a private life? Absolutely. But am I harboring secrets? No. I have set in my own life the difference. I don't do these broadcasts until I've dealt with this stuff. Now, I'm not trying to put my standard on anybody, which is why I'm not going any deeper. But I have worked through this stuff. I have worked through the secret stuff going on in me. In me. And I've exposed myself to me. I've told myself the truth about me, about my anger, about my double-mindedness, about my doing things in my own heart that was inconsistent with my own standards. I told myself the truth. I faced myself. I called myself to the mat about what was going on in me. I didn't need my dad or brother or friends in the ministry or whatever to come tell me nothing. I had to be accountable to myself, which is why I can get on here and be transparent, because I am not worried about being embarrassed, because I also came to grips with the fact that other people have secrets, but they also have a private life, and they have a right to their private life. They have a right to their secrets. If they set out to hurt me and I discover it, I leave them alone. But gay, what if it's somebody who's dear to you? Well, if they're willing to hold to secrets that they know will hurt me, well, then they don't really love me. See? So now I'm not walking around under a cloud of condemnation. No. If that person says they're my friend, but they know that something that they are about or in their hearts would hurt me, and they don't tell me, they don't give me the opportunity to know, to make a decision, and I got to find out another way, I reserve the right to leave them alone. Now, I'm a Christian, so I'll forgive them. And if it's something that we're in each other's face at the time, I'll tell them, you know what? That hurt. That hurt right there. That hurt that you didn't tell me. You didn't have to, but if you loved me, if you cared about me, and you knew that thing would hurt me, it hurts that you didn't tell me. But I understand that that's how you do. You got some stuff to work out? I'm done. Call me when you work through it. Wait a minute, Gabe. I thought you said you cut them off completely. You didn't hear me say that. You didn't hear me say that. If I truly care about the person, I'm not telling them I'm going to cut you off completely. What if it's my son? What if it's my brother? What if it's my parents? I'm not going to cut those people off completely. Are you crazy? I love them and their secrets and their private life, no matter how much it may end up hurting me, if I actually love them, not just really like them intensely. Yeah, I said it. If I supposedly love them, there's that word forgiveness. If I can create an environment around me that allows them to come clean, maybe they'll come clean. I can't tell them what to do. So that's the first solution. That's the first thing I did. I had to come to a point where I have to give people the opportunity to say some very tough things about themselves. See, y'all not going to talk to me, but that's okay. I'm going to talk to you. One of the things I've learned in the last 6 years, very tough in the first few years, very tough, because I was dealing with issues with me. It wasn't about my son, my son's mother, what happened. It wasn't none of that. It wasn't about my finances. It wasn't about the moves, the changes, the ups, the downs, the financial struggles. Nope, it was about Gabe. And for all the people I could blame, I had to start with me. Because if I was going to go forward and really develop some genuine friendships and not just be respected and demand respect, but be somebody people could trust, whoo, I'm talking good, then I knew I was going to have to deal with the things that would make me untrustworthy. I was going to have to deal with the issues that would make it hard for people to trust me. And yes, I have a private life. I have a right to think the things that I think. And obviously the only one who can get in on that is God, right? That's between me and God. But the moment I step out my door, and in fact, because my son lives with me half the time, the moment he walks into this house, his house, I have a responsibility to some extent to let him in on what's going on with me. Because what's going on with me has an impact with him. Do I tell him all of my business? No. Why? Because he's a child and he's growing. He's becoming mature. I did a whole broadcast almost a year ago when I said we've got to, because of the pandemic and because people are sick, getting sick and dying, we've got to start confessing our medical issues. Because the pandemic was taking people out with pre-existing conditions. And I'm not even with vaccination. I'm not changing my stance. If you know you went to the doctor and the doctor told you we're a little bit concerned about how high your blood pressure is and you got kids and grandkids and you haven't told anybody, I'm really concerned about you. Why would you keep that a secret? I'm not talking about go get your medical chart and lay it out here on Facebook, but I think the people who love you should know. And you should give them some idea of what you're doing to keep your blood pressure right. I've talked openly about working out. I've talked openly about taking vitamins. I've even posted my vitamins and supplements right here on Facebook for others who are dealing with issues of blood pressure and all those things. I've shared it with people where I fellowship and worship together who are struggling with high blood pressure. I speak openly. Because that's a medical situation for which they could be trying to figure out why we haven't heard from Gabe in 2 days, because I'm laying up here dead. Because I wasn't doing rightly by my blood pressure. I wasn't doing rightly by my hypertension. That ain't something you want to keep a secret. You got diabetes and you ain't telling nobody. Type 1 or type 2. You got some issues with your eyes and you still driving because you don't want to tell anybody because you're afraid somebody going to tell you, go get your eyes checked. Or you need to stop driving altogether. So you don't tell anybody because you're waiting to have an accident. Because you want to keep that a secret. Yeah, I'm getting all in your business now. Those are health issues that we cannot afford to keep a secret. Men, erectile dysfunction. You in a whole marriage and you won't tell your wife that you know you struggling. And you trying to compensate. Dude, tell your wife, sit her down. Honey, I'm having some issues. Well, she ain't gonna understand. Give her a chance. She's your wife. Give her a chance. How do you know? So you gonna keep that a secret till what? She built a complex thinking it's her? You gonna let her think it's her? See what I mean? People got privacy and secrecy issues and they marry. Sleep in the same bed. You on your job, you know you stress, it's affecting your work performance, and you got your people you work with. You don't try to tell me you don't have one person you work with that you can trust? Not one? Zero? Nobody? That you can trust and say, hey, look, I'm drowning. I can't keep this job up. I'm thinking about leaving. I need you to not tell anybody right now. If you can support me, please support me. I think people are dying because of secrets. That's what I think. I think marriages are falling apart just as much about secrets as anything else. I think right now there's mothers and fathers not talking to their children because their children eventually grew up, duh, and they start finding out secrets about their parents because you couldn't keep it from them. Because they talk to their aunts and their uncles, your siblings. And now you're mad because your siblings told them the secrets, told them the things that you thought they'd never tell them. So now you disown your whole family. How that's working for you? Oh, I'm all in your Kool-Aid. I'm all in your Kool-Aid. How that's working for you? You cool being alone? You cool shutting everybody out because you more worried about your secrets? You're more worried about embarrassment than you are about letting people in to some of these things that are really secret, not private, they're secret? These ain't private issues. These are some secrets, things that are supposedly in the past. And if they're in the past, what's your problem? You're about to have a stroke and a heart attack because you don't want to come up off these secrets. You love your pastor, but you don't trust him. To tell him some of these things that he might be able to, or she, to help you. So you don't want to tell him. You don't want to go to a counselor because they're going to want to find out your secrets. It ain't because you can't afford it. It's because you don't want to come up off your secrets. Oh, I'm just a private person, Gabe. Is it really privacy? Or is it some secrets? Because here's the E word, I gotta say it, embarrassed. You're embarrassed. You've convinced yourself you're the only person going through it. You've told yourself you're the only one with those secrets. You're the only one who was abused as a child. The only one who was molested. The only one who considers suicide. The only one who's suffering with depression. You're the only one whose husband beat on you. You're the only one whose wife cheated on you. You're the only one who was fired from a good job and now you can't seem to get yourself together because you don't want anybody to know you're financially struggling. So you're out there about to kill your food self. Working 3 and 4 and 8 and 10 jobs. because you don't want to tell anybody that you need help. You're the only one going through that. You're the only one with medical issues, and you don't want anybody to know because you're afraid they might say something. You're the only one, right? That's what drives secrets. You lie to yourself and you tell yourself you're the only one. You're the only one who's ever been heartbroken. You're the only one who's ever seen difficult days. You're the only one who suffers from all kinds of situations because you don't want anybody to know. And so you lie and you tell yourself you're the only one, and that becomes the justification for your secrets. And then when somebody does find out, you swear them to secrecy. Good God, man. Gabe, what are you doing? You're leaving us nothing. I never do. Then you swear them to secrecy. Even when they know what you just told them is something that is harmful to you, something that if you don't get it addressed, it's going to hurt you, and now you burden them down with trying to hold on to your secret, even though they know that's a secret that really needs to be exposed. And you threaten them. Oh, you may not say it in a threatening tone, but you basically let them know, excuse me, if you tell anybody, we through. And if you love me, you ain't gonna tell anybody, especially this one, that one, and the other. Don't tell my mama. Don't tell Auntie Betty. Don't tell Uncle Jojo. Don't tell the pastor. Don't tell, yeah, but the pastor can help. Don't tell the pastor, because I don't want him to think different of me now. I'm a pastor. I've counseled people for over almost 30 years. Even before I became a pastor, for some strange reason, people were coming to me with their issues, and I was 16, 17. It is what it is. What I recommend, and I told you I'd get to it, one, you got to address your secrets. Things that you're calling private, you got to ask yourself, is it really private or is it a secret? And if it's a secret, why? Why? Think about it. What in the world do you have secrets for? Why do you have secrets? Why do anybody got secrets? Any individual. Why do you have secrets? I told y'all not going to talk to me. I'm going to ask it again because it sounded good to me. Why do I have secrets? See, if I was at church, I'd say, repeat after me. Why, do, I have secrets. So, think about it. If you got secrets, why? And who are you hiding it from? I have the utmost respect for a private life. I have the utmost, you don't tell everybody your business. I get that. I was taught that too. But why do you have secrets? Who are you protecting? What are you afraid of? What are you, embarrassment? Somebody's going to leave you that you don't want to leave you? That means they control you. I need to be done. But let me go on and say it. Let me see the C word. If you have secrets that somebody told you, if you tell this, we're done, they have control over you. Point blank, period. I know you don't like it. It's okay. I love you though. I love you even if you don't like what I'm saying. You might not even like me right now. You're going to love me. It's okay. You're going to love me. Because I love you. If you have secrets, who are you hiding them from? Why are you hiding them? And what damage is it doing to you emotionally and mentally? What is it doing to you psychologically to maintain those secrets? And I'm not talking about frivolous little things like, Gabe, so-and-so, some little petty thing. I'm talking about family secrets. I'm talking about Tyler Perry play secrets. Y'all seen them. And if you ain't never seen them, go watch one. You'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Let's see. See, Diary of a Mad Black Woman. How about Family Reunion? That's a good one. The play or the movie. Secrets. Secrets. So my recommendation, one, deal with yourself. Number two, if you feel like somebody may be keeping some secrets, if you do have that conversation and you hear something and you go, I think I need to ask about that, you know what I recommend you do? Ask about it. But don't treat them like it's suspicion. No, just say, hey, and you know, maybe you let that conversation just finish and come back a couple of days. You know what? I was thinking about something you said when we were talking the other day. Oh, okay. Yeah, you mentioned this. Something happened in your past. I don't want to pry, but I'm a little concerned. And if you don't mind me asking, now I fall a little short of, if you don't want to talk about it, I understand. I say that when I'm in ministry. But usually, I don't want to scare nobody off, but I usually get to it. I ain't gonna lie. All the years I've been doing this, I can get to it. If I sense somebody's hedging with me, they're talking to me about something they're going through, but they're trying not to tell me, I ain't gonna lie. I usually get to it. I usually do. Without even trying. Because secrets can hollow you out. Do y'all not understand what I'm saying? Secrets will bury you. You got all kind of gunk and junk all up in here because you holding on to secrets. What happened to your mama? What you heard about? What happened to your daddy? What happened to your child? What happened to you as a child? You got all this kind of stuff. You knew who lied at the job, and that's why so-and-so got fired, and you still carrying it. They done went and got another job. But every time you see them, that guilt wells up in you. Get that secret out to somebody. If not to them, somebody. Send me a message on Messenger. Gabe, here's a secret. I need to get this out. I ain't gonna go find that person and tell them, hey, guess what? They knew why you got fired. I promise you, I won't do it. You can leave out the names. You can change the names if you want to. My last bit of advice, again, there's no standard. I've already told you. There's really no standard, right? You have to set your own standard for what you call secret and what you call private. I cannot help you do that. If we talk one-on-one, you know me, let's talk one-on-one. If you want me to give you some more very specific advice about some things you're dealing with. I can't do that here. It's too general. Anywhere upwards of 900 and some odd people can watch this video. So I can't do it. I can't give very specific situations because it's 966 people. So I can't do it. But my last bit of advice, deal with yourself. Ask yourself the questions about what your secrets are and all that. Then, when it comes to somebody else, ask them gently, respectfully. Don't accuse. Stop accusing people, dagnammit. You wonder why people don't trust you? Because you're too quick to accuse them of stuff. You know who I'm talking to. If that's you, it's you. You just, as soon as they say, well, you know, this is it. See, all men are this. All women are this. Can't trust nobody. Everybody, man, some of the memes y'all post, you can't figure out why people don't trust you? Because your memes tell them to leave you alone. Your memes suggest, or more than suggest, it flat out declares you can't be trusted. Your memes tell them that you won't hold nothing as private, let alone as a secret. They may have some very private things they would like to share with you. Then they come across your meme on Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, wherever it is, or some post that you put up there, and yeah, this is what it's about. Then you talk about, no, girl, you can come to me anytime. Oh, man, I'm your homie, man. You can come to me, man. No, they can't. Well, you know what? I'm not talking about you. They don't know that. And they're not going to ask you. They're going to take you serious. You posted a serious meme. You had a serious comment on something they said. And if you the type always talking about too much information, I ain't never telling you nothing. Because I won't be able to get nothing off my chest with you. How am I tell you when you don't want to hear? You don't want to listen. Oh, that's my last one. Listen. 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 Don't judge. Listen. Listen. Be a person who's willing to listen. And you might help people move from secrecy to transparency. You might be someone that they can trust to move from being so secretive to transparent. Now, ladies, I say this respectfully and I'm done. You may not want to raise a child because you've already raised a child. I know. I hear you. You may not want to have to be somebody's mama. You may feel like, hey, I don't come with no baggage. I ain't gonna even touch it. But understand this. Men have an extremely difficult time with transparency. Tell me I'm wrong. We get called liar all the time. And half of y'all never stop to realize we struggle with transparency. We struggle with it. It ain't about trying to lie. It's about the fact that we struggle with transparency. Because whether y'all want to accept it or not, there was a time when that fella shared something with the opposite sex and he got ramrodded for it. She ghosted him. She talked down to him. She belittled him. She berated him. She called him immature. He was trying to share something. He was trying to say what he was never trained to say. He was trying to do something he never had the ability to do, which is to trust a woman enough to tell her the truth about something he's going through or something he's been through. And when she cut him down, he said, nope, I'm done. And is that every man? Of course not. Of course not. But there are many, many, many men. And for those of you ladies who are single, go into conversations understanding. A man will slip up and tell you something that he never intended for you to know. Not necessarily because he's a liar, but because we guard ourselves tremendously. I've heard enough women tell me, men are always guarded. And even the way you say it, men are always guarded. Check your attitude, ladies. If you really want to get into a relationship with us, respect the fact that just like you, we've had some hurts, we've had some pains, and we guard ourselves. Because we think that's a part of being a man. See? See? You didn't know that, did you? Your sons are doing that. You didn't know that, did you? Just because your sons are transparent with you doesn't mean your son is transparent with his wife. Doesn't mean your son is transparent with his girlfriend. Just because your son may tell you after you know how to ask him just right, so he'll tell you, doesn't mean he's ready to tell a future spouse. Just because your daughter might be willing to tell you doesn't mean she's ready to tell her husband. Doesn't mean she's ready to tell a boyfriend or fiance. Just because you've known them all their life and they're transparent with you doesn't mean that you really taught them to trust anybody but you. Oh, I know you didn't mean to do that. You didn't mean to do that. You really wanted them to be people who could trust. But then you also kind of said things like, well, I wouldn't trust everybody, son. And you never taught them what that looks like. So now they don't trust anybody. And if you let them down, they are done. Now you're bearing the burden of a 30-year-old grown man and you can't let him down ever. Because if you let him down, he's done. And you know it. And your heart is broken. And it's your fault. Because you led him to believe that it's okay not to trust anybody but you. And when he got into a relationship, well, son, I don't know about her. Well, son, I don't know about her. Oh, and the flip, Well, baby girl, don't trust him. You know, you can't trust men now. And you sitting there single, and she's thinking she gonna die old. And she only 20. Because she looking at you. Now she's seeing you trying to get into a relationship after you done told her she can't trust nobody. Oh men, we're not exempt either. We're not exempt either. You know what we encourage, fellas? Secrets. Secrets. Come on, men. Come on. Come on. That's what we encourage from our sons and our daughters. We encourage them to keep secrets because they watch us do it. Oh, we can call it private if we want to, but we get all mad, air all swell up in our chests when something slips out, when we get exposed. We get all mad. They ain't none of your business. I'm the man. I'm the dad. I'm the husband. You ain't got to know all that. Shut up and do what I tell you to do. What the world? And we don't realize what we're doing to our sons and our daughters. We're encouraging them to keep secrets. And I'm going to ask the question again. Why you got secrets? I'm not talking about private. I done made the distinction pretty good. I'm not talking about things that you hold to be private. Like your sex life. That should be private. That's not everybody's business. Technically, your financial life is really your private business. That's really your business. Unless you go to a financial advisor or something like that. That's basically your business. You know, stuff like that. That's private. But secrets is a different thing. So fathers, we encourage secrets. What happens in this house stays in this house. Not that mothers don't say that, but fathers, let's be honest. That's us. That's us. My father said it to us. He learned that from his upbringing. Passed it down. I don't say it. But it got passed to me, and it was up to me to decide what I want to do with it. I want my son to feel like he can be transparent. Not tell his private business, but I want him to feel like he can learn to trust more than just his mom, who's listening to this broadcast, or his dad, or his brother and his sister, or his tia and his tío, or his aunt and his uncle, or his grandparents. No, I want him to develop solid friendships. He ain't got to have 10 friends. No, 2 or 3 good, solid people that he can trust beyond his family, that he could turn to beyond his dad, that he could trust. I hope I model that. I try to when I'm on the phone. I try to demonstrate before him. He can hear me talking now. I try to demonstrate before him that friendship is a powerful thing. And yes, you have your private life, but sometimes even your private life, I won't get into that. Sometimes you got to share some things in your private life. Technically, your medical life is private. But when it's out of control, you need to be able to trust people to come into your medical life. Sometimes your finances get out of control, and you need to be able to trust people to come into your financial life. Sometimes even your romantic life can take a turn for the worse, and now you may have to seek counsel, and you need to be able to allow people into something that is private. Hope this helps. Share it out. Get it on your page. Tag some people in it. Let them know why you're tagging them. Hopefully I've said some things that, if nothing else, gets this old noggin, they used to call it, working. Have a great night. Till next week.